Marie, we are live.
Awesome. So excited. Thank you everyone for showing up live with us today. We are back with another really amazing expert. Of course, Justin, my co-host, is here. We have my very, very good friend, Catherine, is going to join us, but I do want to make sure that you guys can find the chat, say hello, let us know where you're calling in from. If you have any questions along the way, pop them into the chat. I'll be sure to kind of put all those together. I'll let you know if we need to answer them at the end. Catherine has a really great training for us today, and all of you are amazing business owners. Without knowing these tips and tricks, it's going to be kind of hard to figure out who your ideal client is. So we asked Catherine to come in, share her expertise a little bit. Hello, Massachusetts. It's good to see you. Thank you, Lisa, for coming in, and Tanya for joining us. There will be a replay. Let me just remind everybody of that. We might say it a couple more times. There will be a replay. We'll be sure to share links in the chat. Keep up with the chat as much as you can. We have a lot of amazing support inside of the chat. Steve's been here before with us. James has been here before with us. If there are questions that they can help us with, they will. Virginia, love it, Northern Virginia. I'm in Western North Carolina, so we're not too far away. Houston in the house, love it. Thank you, Carol. It's good to see you here. And anyway, let us get started. Catherine, my dear friend, let me give you a quick little intro, and then I will pass the mic over. Catherine and I have been online friends for several years and actually got to meet in person a couple times. We were talking a little bit before we started the recording that if you have not scheduled your next in-person event, it might be a good time to do that, okay? There are so many great connections that can happen there. Catherine and I had an amazing conversation in January, which now leads to her coming and training with you guys today. Catherine has been in the online marketing world for many, many, many years. Her background is to help Fortune 100 companies as they build their brands and their businesses. She's transitioned that over to helping all of us amazing entrepreneurs find and create their own ideal client attraction system by asking the best questions to attract the best clients. Who would like to have amazing clients? Put yes in the chat. Catherine, my friend, I'm going to pass over to you. You have the mic. Let me know if you need anything, and excited to hear more from you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And thank you for having me. We've met a couple of times over the last year, so it's been great to get to know you. And for those of you that don't know that, Justin and I just found out that we live literally 15 minutes away from each other. I could have gone to his house to actually do this. So
I was already texting my business partner. I'm like, our guest is from Grand Valley, and he's like, no way.
So I'm just going to share my screen here. I'm excited to be here. This is what I call client whisperer training, which is really client listening training, to be honest. So I'm going to go through some tips and tricks. I'm just going to put it into slideshow mode. What I really wanted to do today was give you some of the tools that you have on hand that you may not have thought of yet, that you actually can use to be a fly on the wall, if you will, of your ideal client or your target audience. So what I wanted to do was one of the things that I hear all the time from entrepreneurs when they're getting started, when they've got a new course, when they've got an offer is, without doing a whole bunch of market research, calls or spending money on maybe some, focus groups or things of that nature, how do you get into the language of your ideal client? So how do you understand what they're struggling with and what they're wanting or desiring in their language? Because that's the key that you're going to need to unlock in order to make sure that your messaging is going to land, that you are talking to the right people about the right problems, that, you want to make sure that you've almost like sat in on their conversations without being creepy, but sat in on their conversations. So how can you do this, without spending, a ton of money on market research, without trying to, become an expert, with in-person calls and so on. That's why I put this this together, and this is why Marie and I talked about coming to talk to you. So really quickly about myself, I spent 30 years in corporate, as Marie had alluded to. I spent that always in market research and consumer insights. Fancy way of saying I was a translator. I asked consumers questions about what they wanted, what they needed, what was missing, and I translated that into new product innovations, marketing campaigns, sales conversations for the corporate, 50 basically. I've been at Apple when Steve Jobs was there. I've been at Pepsi working on the Super Bowl when they were doing the halftime shows. Memorial Day just passed. There's a lot of research that goes into the bundles that Pepsi does around Lay's and Pepsi and so on. So, all of that, came from consumer insights and market research. And when I left corporate, I realized that, people, we're curious. The first thing that I asked Justin when we got on a call was, are you really from Orangeville? Like I asked him, like, where are you from? We asked things like, where are you from? What are you doing? Like, what do you do for a living? Where do you live? We go for a new job. We ask about what the role is. Where's the parking lot? Or where can I park? Where's the lunchroom? We start businesses and we start making a whole lot of assumptions. And we forget to ask any questions. So my kind of mission is to get curious again. So I started the Ideal Client Academy. I'm also the creator of the quiz creation formula. I do have a podcast called Kickstart the Conversation, which is all about leads, lists, and leverage. I've been an international speaker, and I am a best-selling author. So all that to say is I've asked a lot of questions in my life. And I've, translated a lot into product innovations and so on. And now I help entrepreneurs to do the same. So client whisperer strategies. First things first, you really need to understand your ideal client struggles and desires. I call this the 3 a.m. question, right? What's the 3 a.m. question that your ideal client is waking up and having? And it's in their own words. So for example, I help people with their, lead generation strategies. At no time ever has anyone woken up at 3 a.m. and thought, I really need a more efficient lead generation strategy. Never, ever in the history of ever has that happened. Ever, right? They wake up thinking, holy crap, I need more clients. Or I need to stop spending so much time on the tire kickers and the freebie seekers. I'm not getting the right people. Like, how do I attract the right people? So really getting into that 3 a.m. question in their own words is key. And how do you do that? So it's not, the thing is that customers, and I used to tell, corporate CEOs this all the time. Consumers cannot tell you what the next widget is going to be. They can't tell you what they want. Right? They don't know, right? They don't know what's possible. They don't know what you could offer them, right? So all they can tell you is this is what they wish for, or this is what they desire in their own words. And then you can come along on your white horse and offer those solutions to them, right? But how do you get into their 3 a.m. question, their own words? And there's a few ways. So while I call this the client whisperer, it's really kind of the client listener. So there are ways that you can check in with your clients. There are ways that you can collect information and research your clients and be that fly on the wall. And there are ways that you can actually start conversations with your ideal clients and your target audience in order to better understand that 3 a.m. question. What you're going to start with, if you can write down, what's the topic, or what's the solution that you have come up with, right? For me, it's lead generation. It's high quality, leads that convert, right? So that's kind of the topic, if you will. If somebody is going into Google, or somebody is waking up at 3 a.m., they're saying, I want more high quality leads, right? Or like, I want more clients, which means that I need more high quality leads. So, think of your topic, because what you're going to do is you're going to use your topic to then try to figure out, almost reverse engineer what clients are putting into a Google search, or what are they trying to find out? And that's going to inform you as to what they're actually trying to figure out. Right. So you're trying to kind of reverse engineer and get into their, what exactly is the question that they are trying to find the answer to, that you can then connect your solution to. Make sense? All right. So for check-ins are really just quick pulses, right? So just to get a pulse on your ideal client. And it's, frequently asked questions are fantastic quick pulse, right? So you can start a conversation with your ideal audience around, people always ask me, what programs do you use for quizzes? Like how do you get it programmed? I could start a whole conversation with my ideal clients, maybe in social, maybe in email, maybe on a podcast around, how I suggest, using, one application versus another application, or some of the tips and tricks. It's a way for you to kind of understand, like, the frequently asked questions are a way for you to understand where people are still struggling a little bit with what, how you're going to help them. Right. So those frequently asked questions, the more that you answer them, the better, the further ahead you are. You can ask a poll. So if you want to check in with your ideal audience, or check in with any audience on something along the lines of, Steve, you were talking about BNI and networking. So maybe there's a poll, and I have it later actually, on, how many times do you network in a month? And, asking them, hey, I don't network at all, or, I go weekly, or I go monthly. Well, is there a magic bullet number for that? Is there like, if you do it this many times, you'll make this many connections and so on? Like, I don't know, but you could start a whole conversation around that will give you some information back as to how they are talking and how they're phrasing that conversation. So as you start those conversations, the language that they're using to answer or to interact with, maybe in the comment section, or as you're talking in a networking group, just be mindful of the language that's being used. Ask me anythings are also a great way to connect with your ideal clients, and again, get their off the cuff language patterns as to how they're interacting with you. So you can put a post in social media saying, hey, ask me anything about, about business, or I have a mentor that says, ask me anything about anything about his, his business, his investments, what he's doing for a vacation. Like, he'll answer anything. But what he's getting is information from his audience about what they're interested in. So if everyone's asking about his daughter, like, he posts a lot about his daughter right now, because everyone's like, hey, how's Sophie? How's she doing? Like, she's 2. What's next? So, it gives you some, connection points, I guess, to your ideal client. Right. So frequently asked questions, just keep a running list, I would say. These can be in your sales page of an offer, but they can also, you can kind of dust these off when you have some time in your content calendar to say, how often should I email my list? Right. Well, there's no hard and fast rules. Like, it's kind of like, how long is a piece of string? Like, it's a conversation, actually. It's not a hard and fast rule. A lot of the frequently asked questions that you get are probably not, yes, no answers. They're probably actually conversations that need to be had. Right. So that's what you can use to kind of start that conversation. Again, getting their language pattern around, these particular items. Ask me anything, be the open book. We talked a little bit about this. You can do this every once in a while. You could schedule it monthly, or you could do it just, hey, I'm about to launch. Do you have any questions about this? I'm about to have this big launch, and I'm really excited about it. And I've done a lot of, back and forth on this. Ask me anything about product launches. right? Or ask me anything about setting up a networking circle, or ask me anything about what the next you know like are you like the next event that you're going to, the next live event that you're going to, why are you going to that event, what, like, why are you going to TNC versus the marketer cruise, why, like, what's going on with that. And polls, this is for Steve, even though I didn't know Steve was going to be here. But which of the following best describes your current networking activity? I'm part of a number of groups. I have a few groups. I'm just starting. It's not really my thing. And then on the right, you can actually start that conversation. According to your poll, I have a few groups I like to network in, but is that enough? And this is where Steve can kind of say, okay, well, let's start that conversation. So this gives you a quick pulse of what people are thinking, and it gives you an in to actually have the conversation, continue the conversation with them, right? Now, just because I do have a quantitative background, I have to say there are a couple watch outs with polls. One is sample size, right? Two is target audience, right? Make sure you're talking to your right target audience. If you're doing this in like Facebook groups or whatever, be aware of what kind of audience that you're getting, because the people that are in there, if they're not really your target audience, then making decisions based on that is maybe not in your best interests. Also be aware of selection bias. So Facebook polls, and a lot of polls actually will show you what the winner is at that point in time, like which item is actually winning. That's going to give you some selection bias. So you're actually going to, basically what I tell people is polls are a great check-in, quick pulse check-in. They shouldn't be used for an actual business decision, right? Like a really big business decision, you should not be using a poll for. You should be using something a little bit more robust, because there's selection bias, there's audience bias. There's even, LinkedIn, for example, has a character limit on its polls, and it's so small that a lot of the polls that I do, I can't even put in LinkedIn because I lose the essence of the question, because I can't, like, I just don't have the character count that I need. Okay. Any questions on kind of a check-in to get some just really quick information from your audience?
Feel free to raise your digital hand. You can go into reactions and just raise your hand. That way we can, happy to bring you up and have Catherine answer your question. We did have just a couple kind of thoughts in the chat, Catherine.
Sure.
We use just kind of add on, like, what are some other options? We always have a help desk. I know at Tools for Motivation, it's huge for our customers. We have an 800 number. We have that help desk manned a lot. I won't say full time, but it's always a good way. And Tools for Motivation side of things, we have a form, we have a feedback form. So when stuff comes in, the team will start adding that into the form, and Justin can use the language as we're building out new promotions and things. But it's great for the help desk, because of course they're answering the questions, but we can always hear what kind of things are tripping them up, or what kind of questions they're asking. And if we get those over and over and over again, so that's always nice. And I know Steve has a support ticket chat system too. So is that a little bit different? I guess a chat on your website, I don't know what, they'll kind of be checking in. Is that a check-in option?
Yeah, you could. Yeah. A quick, the thing with text is that people shorthand. So you may not get the whole language pattern out of it. But this is all what I call this, like, these are all pieces to the puzzle. There is not one thing that you should do and you'll get like your ideal client messaging like down pat. Like these are all these things you can use to help you create the picture that you need. There's not one size fits all, and there's not one magic bullet in here. So you're going to probably use a bunch of different things depending on what you're doing, and the audience that you have and the access that you have to them. You can use what's at your disposal easily, and then there's some freebie tricks that are coming up.
Cool. Awesome. I think Justin, did you have any other questions that popped up in your mind? I saw you on mute.
Well, I just thought I'd chime in quickly and just say I really love everything you're sharing here, Catherine. It kind of ties in well with a lot of the messaging we put out when we make recommendations for building a business, especially online. People like to hide behind a website or behind a social media profile. And I try to remind people that some of the most fundamental business basic stuff, like picking up the phone, talking to customers, inviting them to have a conversation, asking them questions to find out a little bit more about who they are. It's something we've prided ourselves on for years and years of doing this, even though we have a digital downloads business. That's one thing that customers have told us sets us apart. I'm not saying that we do it. It's just literally what we've been told. And so I always encourage people to do it, because just because you have a website or a digital based business doesn't mean you shouldn't be doing these things. And everything Catherine's sharing right now has genuinely worked really well for us. So I hope everybody's taking notes and following along, maybe coming up with some ideas of what they could do to incorporate more of this kind of question and asking and digging deep
Yeah.
for those connections. So I think it's
Yeah,
great. It's great info.
Yeah, let yourself be curious, but let your clients be curious too
Both.
about you,
Yeah.
and about what's going on with you, and about, now you don't have to live your whole life in an open book and all online or anything. That's not what I'm saying. You can put the guardrails up as you need to, but keep in mind that at the end of the day, people buy for solutions and they buy for experiences, and you're part of that experience. Like personally, they don't they want to know you. They want to know that there's a face behind the conversation. Okay. Now collections is all about, I'm often asked, what's the difference between a quiz and a survey, for example. So if you think of corporate, and you think of the information that I used to collect from consumers, it was all about what they were currently doing, what they were buying, where they were buying it, what else did they, consider, what was their demographics, what was, it was all a whole bunch of information. It was an information download from them to us. They would provide us with this information because they got maybe an incentive or anything or something like that, but they didn't learn anything about themselves by going through the process, right? They didn't get a report at the end. They didn't get a lead magnet. They didn't get anything. It was a pure collection of information that then we put into a toolkit and generated results for the business. The consumer actually, or the client actually, never got any information back, or very rarely, as to how the information was used or what, new product came out or new bundle or anything like that. So when you're collecting data or you're collecting information, that's more like a survey. Whereas, and we'll get to this later, but a quiz is more of a two-way conversation where the client is learning something about themselves based on the information that they're giving you. So just to kind of frame that, we're talking now about collecting data. So you're being the fly in the wall. You're extracting the information for yourself, and you're not necessarily giving back to the the consumer right now. And it doesn't have to be hard or expensive. Although back in my corporate days, we would tell people, of course it has to be hard and expensive. Like, that's just the point. But right now, what I call Google University, there is a ton of information. And I'm going to show you a couple of tricks here to get that information, to extract that information, because it's overwhelming. It's like you can go to so many things in so many places, and it's overwhelming. So we're going to talk about how to use Google to understand what your clients are searching for, right? What information are they trying to figure out around your topic, around your products and offers? And then we're going to talk about Amazon. Amazon is the biggest marketplace in the world. So, what are your clients searching for? We can get from Google. What are they reading about? And what are they buying? We can get from Amazon, right? What are they asking others for help with? We can get that from Facebook groups, right? So you don't have to break any rules or do anything wonky within a Facebook group in order to actually go through and extract a little bit of information from, just put into a search bar, is anyone having a problem with, so search on problem or solution or, help. and see what people are asking about. Podcasts and YouTube, right? So Google gives you what they're searching for. Amazon gives you what they're reading and buying. Facebook gives you what they're asking their peers about. Podcasts give you what they're listening to. YouTube gives you what you're watching, right? All within, like, how's that all within your topic? And you've got a ton of information about how they're listening, how they're, what information that they're getting, and, what they're being drawn to. So we'll go through this. There are lots of ways to use Google. Here's just a couple, and we'll go through these in more detail. But Google search. So there's a couple of things here. Just go to Google search, right? And put in your topic, put in your what problem that you solve, right? Right as soon as you do that, even before you finish your sentence, Google will try to guess and auto insert the rest of your question based on what other people are searching. So if you get halfway through and it tries to auto finish for you, it's doing that based on what consumers are asking about in their, like, in the algorithm, right? So that gives you a hint. How is Google being asked for this topic or this conversation, right? So even just, put in half of it, see what auto corrects, and just to get a sense. You can also see how big is your search results, right? For how do I attract my best clients? It's 303 million, right? I think there's a market there, right? Once you do the Google search, you've got some competitive intelligence, right? So the very first things that are going to show up on the Google search on the page are ads, right? And it's going to say ad right in front of it. So who's buying the real estate that you're trying to own, right? Because that's what Google ads are. They're buying the real estate. So, like, this is bark.com and Seamless AI and, LinkedIn. Like, these are some big competitors that are buying the real estate on Google. The other thing that Google will do is give you snippets. So this is what the algorithm is telling people to go to based on your question, right? So they're telling people, you know what, if you want to attract your best of clients, here's a little snippet of what you can do, and here's the link. Right? So again, this is just getting to know what information people are end up getting because they're searching for what you offer. Up at the top, this is what some people don't realize, that when you put in the search, right, and you click, go search this, there are these tabs at the top, right? Images will take you to a bunch of YouTube things, or sorry, videos will take you a bunch of YouTube things, but there's one called news, right? So from here, you can actually check out what news articles are being written about your topic, right? So who's writing about your topic? Like, it can give you a sense of, your client avatar almost, right? So people that are, searching how do I attract my best clients, like the people that are writing about it are entrepreneur, are Forbes, are Bloomberg, right? So like, this is it's a pretty hot topic. So if I'm thinking through and you can read maybe a couple of these. Now, these aren't necessarily client language. This is what the filter of a journalist has gone through, but you can see some of the topics, at least, that Entrepreneur and Forbes have thought are worthwhile to write about in order to answer the client's request about the question, how do I attract my best clients? Okay. You can also trend in Google Trends. You can put, your topic in Google Trends, attract the best clients. What I like to use this for is if I am not sure of how to put my topic, like if there's a couple of different ways, like maybe I could use lead generation and attract the best clients, and something else. Which one is being searched for most, right? So the trend report will give you which one's searched for most. Pro tip, a couple pro tips. So I would make sure that you're searching worldwide on the trends. It just gives you a cleaner read, unless you're only in North America or only in the US, in which case you can, make sure that you use the region that makes the most sense. I would definitely go past 5 years, because we had this little blip in the world called COVID, and it messed up all the trends, to be honest. So just know that there's like some of the data is just like the 2020 data is just wonky, right? Because everything was vaccines and masks and everything. So it was kind of crazy. So make sure that you are trying at least to flatten out that, that blip by going past 5 years. And then, you can compare the trends. So I've got attract the best clients here. I got lead generation. I think I put lead generation for coaches or something like that here. And you can see that lead generation on its own trends far higher than the other two, right? So you can start to get a sense of, well, just putting lead generation might be a little too broad, because it's like overpowering. And you can just kind of start ranking, like, because you want to niche down a little bit. The other thing I really like to use this for, especially here, is to check out any seasonality that is going on with your topic. So if you do gym memberships or fitness or anything like that, you're going to get a lot of seasonality in the trend analysis. Your topic, you might not think that there is any seasonality. It might come back that there might be. It might be that nobody talks about lead generation in the summer because everyone takes the summer off. I'm making that up, but you want to just see if there's maybe some seasonality in there. Okay, so that's Google. Let's move on to Shopper Insights from Amazon, and I'm gonna kind of concentrate on the global bookstore here, more so than the products, because a lot of us here are kind of online service-based organizations. And so the products, I mean, if you do have an e-commerce or you do have a product, then obviously you can search, for what else is being bought in your, like, what is adjacent to your product. So, what bundles could be put together and so on. But if you just go into the bookstore, even, you can search, I put in Amazon.com, attract the best clients, just to see what, what's been published in the last 90 days. When you're using Amazon.com, if you actually go, like, so for example, I'm in Canada. If I just hit Amazon, it's going to come up with Amazon.ca. So it's going to give me Canadian ratings, right? So if you want US ratings, I have to go into the, the incognito search and put Amazon.com just so I can get the ratings. So and if you're in Australia, it's .au or NZ in New Zealand, whatever it is for your area. I tend to use Amazon.com for this. Just, it's the largest of the markets. And what you can see is, okay, what's been written about this topic in the last 90 days or more? 190, there's been 194 results for attract the best clients. So, that's high. It's a lot being written about it. What you can, so just grain of salt here, grain of salt moment. You're going to come, like, there are going to be some wonky, this is not an exact science. This algorithm, it's not a search algorithm per se. So it's going to come up with some wonky things and books that are going to come up that you're like, why is that in attract the best clients? That's just the way that the Amazon, self-publishing world works, and how they get, to that bestseller list is they put themselves into different categories that may or may not make sense. So grain of salt moment for, these insights. But what's really cool about this is that these folks have probably already done all that SEO work, right? So if you can actually go through and take a few of these summaries of the top, few books or whatever, and see what language that they're using, what keywords they're using, and so on, you can kind of, borrow from what they've already done. And, they've already done all that SEO work. So you can actually get, some insights around, how to get to your ideal clients through, search, search optimization and so on. Okay.
On that real quick, Catherine, you're
Yep.
using Amazon.com, right? Tanya was asking
Yep.
where in Amazon do you go for that? So maybe there's
Oh,
like
this
you
is
just
just
go to
in,
the books.
yeah, I just went to the books.
Okay. So I hope that helps, just so Tanya knows where we are. You go to Amazon.com, then you go to the books section, and then you can
Yep.
start putting in there any books related to your topic.
Yeah.
Got it. Cool. Hope that helps, Tanya. Thank you.
And then we talked about this briefly, but within Facebook groups and without breaking any rules, you can search for terms in the posts. So if people are, you can search for things like struggling or challenges, problem with, does anyone have? You can search for these kind of, global or larger topics, just to try and catch what people are talking to each other about. So if you're in a larger Facebook group, like some of the coaching groups that have thousands of people in them, you can search, I'm having a problem with, and you can see what people are actually talking about and what they're having problems with, and how you can kind of plug in and solve that problem, right? So you can get a little bit of the language there. Podcasts are a fantastic way. Podcasts are basically on demand. And they're a great way to find out what people are listening to. So, what podcasts are on your topic? What are the top podcasts on your topic? What are the top episodes within podcasts on your topic? So what are people actually wanting to learn more about? And they're going to podcasts to learn. All right. I would suggest starting with Apple. It has 60% of all the podcasts, so it's a good place to start. Spotify is the next largest. So I would go there next, but Apple will give you a really good overview of your topic within what's being listened to. And again, some of those bigger podcasts, they've done the SEO research. So they've done some of that work for you. And then YouTube, right? Just putting, even in the top of the Google search, you're going to have videos. The videos will bring up your YouTube listings on your topic. So YouTube, what are people watching? So you've got your podcast of what they're listening to, and then you've got your YouTube of what they should match. You should now be seeing a lot of overlap and just reinforcing what you've already found out about some of the terms and the struggles and what people are trying to find out about. Okay, and then you can always create a survey if you said if you would like to. Surveys are great for general market research, but they're also great if you want to profile your list. Maybe you have a list that you haven't really talked to in the last 2 or 3, 5 years. You're not sure what's up with them right now, or what's what they're needing. It's a quick survey out to them can give you a lot of information and might actually uncover some white space opportunities for you to offer them a bundle or offer them a package that you now have that they may not know about. Surveys are awesome, excellent for client application forms. So intake forms for your coaching, or maybe an application form for your high ticket offer or your mastermind. And obviously for list profiling, as we just said. So you can actually put together, old school survey that does collect that information. Just you're gonna have to get creative with how people are incentivized to actually finish the survey, because people are now trained to get something for their time and for create going through these things. So there needs to be something that they're getting if you're gonna get decent information, unless it's something like, hey, you can't get into this coaching unless you do the survey. Like you can't get on my calendar unless you do like the application form because we need something to talk about. That's a little different. Okay, so that's a fire hose of market research tools and freebies and so on, so that you don't need to go bonkers or broke or burn out. But any questions on that? We've got still a bit time, so we're good.
I had one thing I was just thinking about. Obviously, yes, fire hose. Like there's a ton of stuff that's here. How do you suggest we start with this? Is this like set aside an hour and then go through some of these steps? Do you have like kind of a good flow for somebody who's just starting market research on not getting overwhelmed or going down like the rabbit hole that can suck us all in, and 3 hours later, you're like, where did we go?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And I think even though Google by itself can be a rabbit hole, I'd probably start with Google and just start with, understanding your competitive, like who's advertising, and then, what search terms are coming up around your topic. Does it match what you thought it would? Because your topic, the way that you're talking about your topic could come up with a whole whack of things that, like, when people are searching for it, not your stuff, like not like you don't want to be associated with it, so you don't want to go down that path. So I'd start with Google, and then just keep oh, I learned this, or like just like a or Evernote or OneNote or something. I keep a file of just, oh, I saw this on Forbes, or I saw this on Entrepreneur, or this is a new book that just launched on Amazon.
I love that. I'm like an organizing person, right? Like it's what I do all of the time. So I think of like a Google Doc and then saying, okay, this is the date. This is what I found. This is what I'm looking for. Like kind of creating a little goal around your research. Just especially as entrepreneurs, we get so excited to just learn all of this stuff, but we have to take that learning and we have to go do something with it too.
Yes.
So kind of connecting all of that. It's super helpful to have just the overview of what to do. Absolutely love this. And I know it's been powerful for other people in the chat. Just keep getting that awesome tips. I love this. So that's good. Steve, do you have a question?
Well, I actually have two now. The first one was easy. How do I duplicate myself to do all this work?
But yeah, no, that's easy. Yeah.
Right. I was figuring you'd have an answer to that.
It's called ChatGPT. No, just kidding.
Yeah, there you go. James, you're up. No, I think, and I understand the concept. I've taught through BNI networking, thinking about the ideal referrals, which is exactly the same process. And it seems to me like the best thing to do is to actually niche down on one particular subject within your field, not just the actual topic itself, because at some point it's going to become too broad. And if you're helping somebody with a certain pain point, then that should be the pain point you search for, rather than trying to look at the whole topic to try and avoid going down those rabbit holes.
Agreed. Like the tighter that you can get, the better the information is going to be, right? And the more focused it's going to be, and the less noise that you're going to have from like random things ending up in the search. So I would agree with that. The tighter that you can get, the better. But if you're trying to niche down, the one way to do that is making sure that when you put in, I can't remember what my client put in at one point in time, but she ended up putting in a topic and it came back with all like R-rated, kind of sites and everything. And it was like, oh no, that's not my topic then. Like, that's not what I want the people searching for. So that's not what I want in my messaging. Right. Cause
which is just as valuable of information, right? Like
Yeah.
if you're putting this in Google and it's coming back with something not so much,
or totally off topic, or that's not quite right, it can help you actually niche down that way.
Does that help, Steve?
Yeah, there was one other thing I found. It was a long time ago and I haven't updated it, but there was actually a way for Google to notify you of items that came up.
Yeah.
So you got a kind of weekly or a daily or a monthly email based on what people were creating or putting out there as articles and stuff. I can't remember the name of it. It's been a long time since I've looked.
It's Google Alerts.
Yes, Google Alerts. That's it.
Yeah, and they still have that.
Okay, good.
So I would suggest that everyone put a Google alert on their name. to make sure that, anytime that your name comes up on Google, that you meant it to do that. And if you didn't, that you're prepared. And also on your topic. And that way you can, so I use Google Alerts to see what what's being written in the news cycle, because we do a lot of press releases and we do a lot of speaking engagements. So, kind of what's on topic. So I use alerts that way.
Right. Thank you.
I love that. And Steve Black, I'm sure wouldn't come up at all. It would just be 15 different Steve Blacks in your world. We have a couple other questions. I know you're still kind of moving through this, so I can hold these questions if that's easier. But people are starting to get the juices moving, but I don't want to stop your flow. So you let me know if you just want to wait till the end.
Yeah, I've just got a couple more tips for you, and then we can kind of open it up to
Let's do that.
All questions.
All right, cool.
So I talked about surveys before being a collection vehicle. Like you're collecting information. The business owner is collecting information to use as they see fit, whether that's as an intake form or as a way to figure out whether or not a person is good for a mastermind, or whatever that tends to be, profiling information. Conversations are a little different. This is a little heavier lifting. This is not necessarily an afternoon excursion, if you will. But we're going to go a little deeper into conversation. So if you think about, how do I get curious about my ideal clients, but how do I let them be curious and find out about me as well? This is the two-way conversation piece that you can be having. So Mark Victor Hansen in the book Aladdin's Lamp said, the person who asks the questions gets to control the conversation, right? So my entire career has been around asking questions, asking the right questions to attract the best clients. And it's kind of like when I started, I said, this is about being the client whisperer, but it's really about being the client listener, right? You can be the question, the person that's asking the questions, but you have to listen to the answers, right? And a lot of people ask a whole bunch of questions and then don't listen to the answer, right? And then don't implement based on the answer. So these are ways that you can have a two-way conversation where you're asking questions and you are, you're actually listening to the answer. So I don't know if this is a surprise to anyone or not, but my favorite of all time, Mac Daddy of all lead magnets, is quizzes. And it would be odd if I didn't talk about it. So quizzes, should be a two-way discovery journey, right? So your clients are learning about themselves around their 3 a.m. question. So they're learning something around the 3 a.m. question that they have in order to answer that. And then you're learning about them as well. And the other thing that they are learning is they're learning about you as the expert, as the person that's the go-to person, as the person that has the answers that they're looking for. When we talk about quizzes, I talk about building your list faster. I talk about developing the right offer for your clients and building those relationships, about lifetime value. It's about being super efficient with your advertising spend. If you are spending, just being super efficient actually with your questions and using the information that you're getting, and then really building that authority, respect, and trust, that a quiz can help you and build your brand and your expertise. So there are 6 steps to creating a great client attraction quiz. There are several ways to use a quiz. I'm talking about lead generation at this point in time. So you're kind of at the top of the funnel of, you're calling in the people that have the 3 a.m. question that you are trying to answer. So you're calling in your ideal clients so that they can learn about themselves, they can learn about you, and you invite them to the next step. There's ways to use quizzes further down the funnel, for ways to get people into different programs. Once they're clients, you can ask a lot more questions and so on. But for right now, let's concentrate on the top of funnel. First and foremost, you want your scroll stopping quiz hook, right? This is the 3 a.m. question, right? So uncover the number one reason that you cannot move from 6 to 7 figures, or what is your coaching superpower, or discover your market readiness score, right? Like what is that 3 a.m. question that your ideal client is having, and then how can you kind of morph that into a quiz hook, as we call it, that will actually stop people in their tracks, and they say, oh my God, like I just literally woke up this morning thinking of that. Like I want to know the answer to that, right? So that's, we talked about the 3 a.m. question. From the 3 a.m. question, you're gonna want them to end up in a certain place. And there's a way to do that. It's called the coffee chat, what I call the coffee chat. Because what people do is they get the 3 a.m. question. They say, are you struggling to get to 7 figures? And they go straight into solution mode, right? So a person said, yes, I'm struggling to create, a business with 7 figures. And they go straight into great, I've got this mastermind for you, or I've got this course for you, and it's only $5,000. Where's your credit card? And there's no conversation, right? Like we didn't get curious. We didn't ask them like what's going on right now. We didn't ask them about their systems. We didn't ask them about maybe their leadership style, or maybe their team building. We didn't ask them about their mindset. We didn't ask them anything yet, right? So it's a little presumptuous to be offering a solution when we don't actually know where in the process of that problem that they're actually in, right? So this is the questions that you can use to have that coffee chat. So, okay, you're at 6 figures, you want to go to 7 figures. How long have you been in business? What's your current structure? What's your business model? Like, is it online? Do you have, multiple programs? Is it one program? So on. How is your IT system set up? Maybe, how much of it, do you have a team behind you, or do you outsource a team, or, do you have the support? What's your mindset? Like, which of the following best describes, how you think about success? Some of those questions that they kind of go, oh, I'm, peeling back the onion layers. Okay. Yeah, no, this is where I'm at. Yeah. These are the things that are going on. This is what I have in place. This is what I'm struggling with. Oh yeah, no, there's a gap to what I want. This is what I want, and there's a gap. Great. How do you help me? Right. And how we help them is after that coffee chat, you're able to then meet them where they're at and say, oh, you know what, Marie? To go from 6 to 7 figures, it's really about mindset. Like, let's talk about your mindset, because that seems to be where the struggle is for you right now. But, maybe Paul, maybe it's IT. So let's talk about IT and how, IT needs to play a role in a 7-figure business. And these are a couple of things that you can do to get to get over that hump. But if you want to learn more, right, then let's, invite you to a call or a webinar or a sales page, like whatever that invite is. But now you've stopped them with the 3 a.m. question that you're going to answer. You've gotten curious about them. They're now curious about themselves, right? And they're learning from you as they go through. They're getting an answer to the question in the lead magnet, right? So in the solutions that you're providing, and bonus, like, cherry on top of the sundae, they get an extra step to carry on the conversation with you and learn more, because going from 6 to 7 figures is a big question. There's a lot going on. It is all of the things. It's mindset, it's IT, it's leadership, it's team, it's all those things. So we're going to have to talk about all of them. But for Marie, we're going to talk right now to you about mindset, and Paul, we're going to right now talk to you about IT, meeting you where you're at, right? This allows you to be the navigator from the problem to the solution in a way that is curious without being creepy, right? You're not proposing marriage on the first date, right? You're not going straight from problem to give me your credit card because I've got the solution. You're asking some questions. You could show off your personality by the way that you ask the questions, by the, the answer blocks that you give. And, there's lots of ways to do that. And you get to be the subject matter expert. You get to say, oh, Marie, this is what's going on with you. I've listened, right? Because you've just went through this 60 seconds with me and I listened to you because this is your answer to the question and it's different than Paul's. Right. So you get to be the subject matter expert and get to actually, say, this is what's going on with you. This is what you can do right now. And let's continue the conversation because there's a lot going on with this question that I can help you with. Right. Okay. So that's kind of quizzes super fast. It's my 35 years in 5 slides. That was my goal. And then I also get asked about assessments. So assessments are, they're basically a score, right? And they are great for going into something like a conference where you're going to have a big ticket sell. So maybe it's a 3-day event and you have an offer on the second day, but you have a coaching zone or something like that. So you want people to kind of give you their level of confidence or their level of completeness on various different, aspects of their business so that you can see where they score not as high. And this is an offer that can help them to score better on that offer. That coach now has that information to say, oh, you know what? It's all about mission and vision statements for you. And you don't have one. And you're not like your team isn't actually talking about it. So one of the things that this program does is we get back to basics and we talk about your mission or your vision or whatever that looks like. So it's a really good kind of pre-post like before and after quantitative view. Maybe you have an assessment to go in and say how well do you know your business on these different aspects before the course and then after the course, right? So now you get, or maybe, satisfaction before and after. You get like a pre-post actual quantitative measure of, oh, when people go through my course, they actually improve the knowledge on this topic by 5% or something like that. So when you are identifying gaps in people's experience levels on different attributes or different aspects, that's when an assessment can be really powerful. They don't have to be scale. They are in this case, but they don't have to be like, say, on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 means not at all satisfied or 10 means very satisfied, answer the following, right? And maybe this is for a virtual event, the number of topics covered, the quality of the speakers on day 2, amount of information provided. This can give you a scorecard on the satisfaction rating of your summit that you can use for other marketing or whatever. Or you can ask about, somebody that's coming in and they are wanting to start a business coaching program with you, and you need to know, okay, let's start with some foundations. Like, do you have a mission? Do you have a vision? Does everyone know it? Right. And, you concentrate on where people are self-assessing themselves as, not being as high as they maybe could. Here is one trick to make sure that Catherine does not go bonkers. Anchor your scales, right? Tell people what a 1 means and tell people what a 10 means, right? Oftentimes I'll see scales and they'll say, rate yourself on this 1 to 10. Well, was 1 good or bad? Right? Or is 10 like, because people will like, now you're guessing as to how they've actually answered the question. So this is a Catherine goes bonkers with for the last 30 years. I've had this discussion with Apple and everyone. So you are now in that list of the people that I warn I will go bonkers. So that is assessments. I find assessments are better for when you already know your client a little more and have that relationship with them, as opposed to a lead generation phase. I find that the curiosity of the questions in the quiz tend to draw people in a little bit better. but it really depends on how you're using it and how, what your ideal client is like. So both of them give your clients some information as well as give you some information. So they're both ways to start a two-way conversation. Okay, and that's it. So now I can answer any questions, but does that make sense? The survey versus assessments versus quizzes?
It does to me, definitely. I also have a link. Should I share this link in the chat?
Yeah, that'd be great.
You want to tell us about it?
So if you want to know what kind of a quiz is best for your business, you can take the quiz. And actually what you'll do is you'll get a report that will tell you about the quiz that will, like, what part of your journey that your business is on that will benefit best from which type of quiz.
I love that. And super easy to go through, of course, because it's you. But it's a great way to kind of get in and learn a little bit more about quizzes. So that link is in the chat there. I'm sure we'll be sharing it a little bit more. Catherine, thank you. I know we're right at the top of the hour. We will stay on for a little bit and answer questions as long as you're good with it. I know I have a couple in the chat. I'm going to scroll back through and find. But if anybody else has any other questions or comments, I don't know, Justin, if you had anything as you were listening in.
Yeah, no, I loved it. Thanks so much, Catherine. I think this is just great information. The chat was active. People are inspired. So I think this is something everybody can walk away with and do something in their own world that makes sense for them and how they want to connect. But like I said earlier, like just making a concerted effort to connect with your clients as a person, determining the real needs and not just pitching stuff at them that they may or may not want, is some of the best advice I've heard. So I highly recommend following it. Like Marie said, tfm.news/quiz will take you to Catherine's specific quiz that you can take and follow along with her path. And for those of you watching on the recording, that is below in the description, along with, I guess maybe, Catherine, we could get your slides if that's cool. Yeah, that'd be great, because I know people often will like to go back and refer to those. So for those of you here live, we'll get those to you on the replay page, but they will be below the video as well. So no, that was great. Thank you so much.
I kind of have an add-on. I'm sorry,
just
go ahead, Justin.
I just wanted to let people know I was throwing it. I wasn't going to be here today, and then Trevor was going to be the co-host, and something came up with him, a bit of an emergency. So I was kind of multitasking. So I really appreciate Marie taking charge as normal, and that was awesome, and Catherine for doing such an awesome job. So thank you, Marie. Back to you.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it. So kind of on that same vein as Justin was talking about, one of the questions we got from Tanya is, what is a good give to entice the email list to actually submit maybe a survey or send in their questions, or, how do you incentivize some of that return for information? Do you have any ideas? She's saying, PDF, a gift, something else. What do you see works best?
Yeah, I the ones that work best are ones that you don't usually see, like on a bonus, value stack or as a lead magnet. So something completely different if you can. Maybe it's a group call for everyone that did the survey. That is something totally special. And you do it like once for, hey, I'm going to share some of these results. And talk about them, or because people want to be involved. So you can get pretty creative here. You can maybe it's Amazon gift cards, maybe it's travel vouchers or something like that. But the ones that I've seen, so one thing from my corporate days, cash is king always. That's the way we used to get people to come to do our surveys, was pay them an incentive. But then after that, it's something that they think that, like, they know that they can't get anywhere else. Like, it's not something
exclusive kind of something.
It's an exclusive something. It's something that was, maybe it's a report based on the survey that they get access to and nobody else gets access to. If it's a hot topic, but there's ways. It depends on your list too and how engaged they are. it may not take much to get some people to give you their life story, honestly.
Yeah. Well, when you said that about offering up maybe a free masterclass or some kind of another give where it's an exclusive, I was thinking that kind of layers on, right? Like we're asking them for survey results. If they submit their survey results, you get them into this maybe ask me anything sort of special thing. Now you're layering on all the different kind of information. I know Justin's really great at adding in creative bonuses. I'm pretty certain he comes up with those at 3 a.m. And sometimes it's tapping into some of our resources. Like now we have bonuses that James is helping us with for our current launch. Like there's always ways to get creative, even if you're tapping into some other people inside of your network too. So the whole idea is just gathering information. So I love the incentivized part there. The other question that came up was, you were asking certain questions in there. And of course, we have this resource that is ChatGPT. We've had several guest experts that have come on and kind of trained us a little bit about how to use that. But if we take some of those questions and throw them into ChatGPT, do you find that there's different, I don't know, things that come back from that are useful, or is it too far skewed? How have you used ChatGPT and maybe some of the quiz stuff?
Yeah, I love using ChatGPT to brainstorm. So to brainstorm things like the quiz hook, or like how can I turn. So the one thing that you don't want your quiz to be is like the census. You don't want it to read like either a census, or you don't want it to feel like you're filling out a mortgage application, right? So and James is laughing because he's probably seen those ones, right? They're painful. But like there are ways that I've thrown like a kind of a standard flat almost question into ChatGPT and said, like jazz this up, make this fun and engaging and in this theme. And it it'll come back with some ideas. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I could do that and that. So I like using it from a brainstorming point of view. It's even worse at telling you what consumers want next than consumers are. So you can't really, expect it to really, you can ask it what are business coaching struggling with? And it'll give you the top things that, basically Google is going to tell you, right? But it's going to, once it learns your tone and learns how you like to converse, it'll start rewriting things in your language. So now you're getting you're getting way even from like how Google is going to tell you how people are searching. It's starting to rewrite it because it's trying to guess how you want to read it.
Yeah, so I know when we did some deep dive stuff with James that we saw that, right? It's intentionally rewriting it towards what we have trained it to do. So it's almost not a good idea maybe to use that at all because your customers aren't using your same language.
Right. Now, when you get into actually creating quiz questions and trying to say, oh, I want this to be more, fun, more like, what superpowers, like, if I were writing a superpower quiz and I was asking people what their superpower was, can you write me a quiz question around, 5 answers? Right. And it'll come up like Tony Stark is this, or, Hawkeye is that. And if you want to if that's your personality and that's fun and it works in your quiz, you can use stuff like that. That's how I like to use it, is to kind of get some ideas around jazzing things up, but I don't use it to try and get the language that my consumer is using for my 3 a.m. question, because ChatGPT is going to try to guess what I want to hear. And that's not helpful.
That is super good information, because obviously we're all trying to be more efficient and things, but this is one of those skills that you need to go in and dive into the work, because you're going to get a more holistic idea of what your consumer is actually asking for, as opposed to what AI is going to push back to you. So good point. Thank you for kind of breaking that down and looking at it a little bit more. I know, Justin, I don't know if you're looking at the chat, if there's something I was missing, just as I was excited about what Catharine was talking, and I don't want to miss any questions. I'm putting
the other market research that is always tried and true is doing actual one-on-one interviews with your ideal clients. So if you do have, former clients or current clients and you want to, have an interview with them and walk through some market research, questions, that's still on the books. Obviously, I don't go into that as much just because people tend to find it hard to find 10 or 25 people to actually sit down and have, a 30-minute market research call with. This is intended to be an addition to, if you have that ability to do that.
Yeah. Sit down, block out some time, go through it. I love that you've given us some really good starting points and steps on what to do. Super helpful. Justin, anything else I'm missing? Because I don't want to.
No, sorry, I was on mute there. No, I was just recapping a good comment from Lisa. I won't read the whole thing, but there was the key thing here was from Lisa saying the key is to your free gift must not be more than 5 minutes for them to read. It has to be worth their energy to complete it and have them take action. So that was a key thing, right? We don't want to overwhelm somebody and make it feel like they can't get anything done here. So if it's a quick transaction like that, to me, there's a lot, especially if you can communicate a lot of value and information in a short window, that's key. So I just thought that was a good extension to what Catherine was already sharing.
I always think of it as like first cup of coffee. Can somebody get something before they've actually had that first cup of coffee in their brain? If you're doing a lead magnet like that, Steve cannot, so for sure. Also remember, tools for motivation, we have a bazillion resources. So you can take that and you can rework it as that free gift, as that give to somebody, and tap that into what the quiz is telling you or what your answers are. These are two resources that just really coordinate well inside of your business to get the most out of the people that you have there, the content, how you're doing your marketing. Like there's so many good things there. And the fact that we create content for you, you don't really have to think as much about the lead gen. Just give something and make sure that it's valuable, and then stack on some of those research tools along with it. So super helpful. Catherine, I don't know if you had anything else as we're kind of closing in. So much love in the chat. I don't know if you've been able to scroll back through it, but lots of thanks, lots of just awesome tips, great things. I know you're going to give the slides, which is amazing. I'm going to put in the chat one more time. Make sure you go over and grab access to the quiz. Go through this funnel for Catherine, because it's a way for you to see that in action, and then also just learn a little bit more about who you are and inside your business. I love that. Catherine, I'll kind of let it back to you. Anything else while we're closing out?
No, I think, again, my overall mission is just to get curious again. So, get curious about your ideal clients, get curious about what they're kind of, wishing for or struggling with that you can help them. But also let them be curious about you. And it goes both ways.
Yes, I love it. Justin, anything else before we close off the recording? We will stay on. For anybody who's live, we'll be around for a little bit longer. This is like a special after party session. So if you're not live with us, you're missing out. We hope to see you next time. But Justin, anything else as we're closing in?
No, that's all. Thank you, Catherine. Great presentation. So honored to have you on. Great information as always. Marie, fantastic job as our host.
Thank you.
Round of applause. We will see everybody on the next one. Remember, we do these every second Thursday. So stay tuned for future ones and watch the YouTube channel for the replay. Maybe you're watching the replay now. Leave us a comment below for Catherine and say hi. See you soon.